They say on Halloween night, the dead don't just walk, they remember. Every year, when the last jack-o'-lantern flickers out, something ancient wakes. The streets may look quiet, the houses calm, but behind closed doors, the night listens. Halloween has always been a night for masks, but some faces hide more than costume paint. Some people open their doors to strangers who never leave. Some see shadows that move against the light. And some record what they can't explain, right before the camera dies. Tonight, you'll hear 4 true Halloween stories, accounts gathered from police reports, eyewitness recordings, and those who wish they had never told their story at all. Stay until the end, because story number 1 isn't an urban legend. It's a case that even the police refuse to discuss. Would you dare listen in the dark? Halloween isn't just about candy, or costumes, or laughter on the streets. Every October 31st, when the veil between the living and the dead thins, real people experience things that science refuses to name. Reports flood in, strange lights, missing time, whispers from nowhere, and figures that vanish when seen twice. For most, Halloween is a night of fun. But for a few, it's the night they wish never happened. Tonight, we're counting down 4 true Halloween stories, each one taken from real accounts, each one darker than the last. These aren't tales from imagination, they're fragments of truth, pieced together from interviews, photos, and official records buried deep in archives. Story by story, we'll step closer to the edge, from haunted celebrations to real encounters with the dead. Some may sound impossible, until you realize, the people who lived them never came back the same. So before we begin, turn off the lights. Put on your headphones. And whatever you do, don't look behind you. It was supposed to be just another Halloween getaway. 5 college friends on a long weekend, driving into the countryside in search of something different. They'd seen a flyer online, annual Halloween bash, free drinks, live music, no phones needed. The address led them to a farmhouse off an unpaved road, miles from the nearest town. When they arrived, the house was lit, windows glowing with orange light, silhouettes moving behind lace curtains. Outside, carved pumpkins lined the porch, their candles already half melted. From inside came the faint sound of old swing music, like something from the 1940s, playing from a record player. They laughed about how weird it looked, like stepping back in time, but decided to go in anyway. After all, a party's a party. Inside, the air was heavy with the smell of wax and perfume. The music played louder, crackling through static. And around them, dozens of guests, all in elaborate costumes. Victorian gowns, porcelain masks, painted skulls. It was the kind of detail that felt too perfect. At first, everything felt normal. People laughed, danced, and toasted in dim candlelight. But after a while, one of the friends, Megan, noticed something odd. No one seemed to blink. Their masks never shifted, their expressions never changed. When she asked who had thrown the party, every guest gave the same answer: "We've been waiting for you." They laughed it off, assuming it was part of the act. But the longer they stayed, the stranger it got. The same song, that old swing tune, started over again. And again. Each repeat sounded slightly warped, slower, as if the record was melting. David, one of the group, tried to check his phone, but there was no signal. The front door they came through was gone. In its place, a wall of cracked plaster. The others thought it was a prank, maybe someone had sealed it for decoration. But when they touched it, the plaster was cold, wet, almost breathing. At midnight, the lights began to flicker. Shadows stretched unnaturally long, crawling up the walls. Then, mid-laugh, one of them, Jason, disappeared. 1 second he was there, holding a drink. The next, the glass shattered on the floor, but he was gone. No scream. No footsteps. Just silence. They searched the house, room by room. Upstairs, the air was freezing. Downstairs, the smell of burning candles grew stronger. Finally, Megan noticed a door beneath the staircase, a basement door half covered by an old rug. They followed the noise, the record still playing somewhere below, the same warped tune echoing faintly. The basement was lined with candles, each one burned down to a puddle of wax. The walls were covered in scratch marks, deep enough to draw blood. And at the center, were mannequins. Dozens of them, posed as if mid-dance, wearing the same costumes as the guests upstairs. But what froze them in place wasn't that they looked lifelike, it was that some had their faces. Megan's breath caught when she saw Jason's jacket, draped over one of the figures. His phone lay at its feet, screen cracked, camera still recording. Then the basement lights went out. They ran. Through the dark hallways, through rooms that seemed to shift each time they turned. Somehow, they found a door that hadn't been there before, and stumbled out into the cold night. The house stood behind them, completely dark now. They didn't stop running until they reached the main road. When they turned back, there was nothing. No house. No lights. Just an empty field. In the morning, they tried to find the location again, but every road led somewhere else. Local police searched the area. There were no property records, no remnants, no signs of any farmhouse ever being there. Weeks later, Megan received a message. No sender. Just a photo. It was a picture of their group, the 5 of them standing in that same farmhouse, drinks in hand, smiling. The only problem was, none of them remembered posing for it. And in the background, blurred but visible, were mannequins, staring right at the camera. To this day, no one knows who took that picture. The phone it came from was never traced. The others refused to talk about that night. Megan moved out of state, she doesn't celebrate Halloween anymore. If you ever find yourself invited to a Halloween party in the middle of nowhere, no host, no address, no history, ask yourself one thing. Would you still go in? Would you stay at a Halloween party if you didn't know who invited you? Tell me in the comments, if you're still here. In 1987, in a small rural town tucked between endless cornfields, a man named Eli Turner walked into a second-hand thrift shop just before Halloween. He wasn't looking for anything special, just a cheap costume for the annual town festival. But in the back corner, beneath a pile of faded decorations, he found it. An old scarecrow costume, torn in places, stained dark around the collar. Its burlap mask was stiff, the stitching crude, and the smell, like damp soil after a grave has been disturbed. Tied to it with twine was a small, handwritten tag. The words, barely legible. Do not wear after midnight. The shop owner claimed it came from a farmhouse that burned down decades ago, found in the ashes, untouched by fire. Eli laughed it off, thinking it was part of the gimmick. He paid $5 and left with the costume rolled under his arm. That night, as the October wind swept across the town, Eli hung it by his window. Neighbors passing by swore they saw it swaying, though there was no breeze inside. The next evening, the town square was alive, pumpkins lit, children running, the smell of roasted corn in the air. Eli arrived wearing the scarecrow outfit. The burlap mask covered his face completely, with only 2 crude holes cut for eyes. People turned when he walked past. Not out of admiration, but something closer to unease. One woman said later, he didn't walk like Eli. He moved. Like something was carrying him. Children avoided him. One little boy started crying the moment Eli stopped beside him. The child's mother said she felt the temperature drop, as if the air around the costume was colder than everywhere else. Eli laughed nervously, trying to join in the fun, but something was off. Each time he exhaled, the inside of the mask grew warmer, then colder again, as if the air itself were breathing back. By 10 p.m., he started feeling lightheaded. The costume felt heavier, the straw around his chest tightening with each breath. He reached to loosen it, but the fabric seemed to resist, pulling against his hands. He thought he was imagining it. And then, he realized something terrifying. His heartbeat was sinking with the slow thump echoing from the chest of the costume. The burlap shifted slightly against his skin. Like it was alive. By the time midnight approached, most of the crowd had gone home. Eli stood near the edge of the cornfield, trying to pull the mask off. It wouldn't budge. The stitches dug into his neck like thorns. He ran toward the festival tent, shouting for help, but witnesses said his voice was muffled, unnatural, like it was coming from inside a sack. One man tried to grab him, to rip the costume free, but when he touched the burlap, it was ice cold. He recoiled instantly, swearing he felt something pulse beneath it. Midnight struck. Eli stopped moving. He looked down at his hands, they were no longer his. The skin was gray, dry, cracking like the husk of something long dead. Through the eye holes, he saw the world dim, and when he turned toward the mirror near the vendor's stand, he didn't see himself. He saw a figure made of straw, with a face sagging under the weight of rot, mouth sewn shut, eyes hollow and endless. He clawed at the mask again, screaming, but no one heard words. Only the rustle of straw. A final witness said Eli stumbled into the cornfield, his movements stiff, jerky. The stalks shifted violently, then went still. The only thing left behind was the faint sound of dry laughter, carried by the wind. 3 days later, police found Eli Turner standing upright in the middle of the cornfield. The ground around him was untouched, no footprints, no drag marks. His eyes were open, skin pale as paper. He had no pulse, no warmth, but his body hadn't collapsed. It was as if something unseen held him upright, watching over the harvest. The scarecrow costume was gone. Authorities ruled it an unexplained death. The coroner wrote in the report, "Body shows no signs of decay or struggle. Muscles rigid, posture unnatural." Every year after, farmers claimed they saw a figure in the fields on Halloween night. Always motionless. Always facing the road. And every time someone approached to take a picture, their camera stopped working. Would you dare wear a costume if you didn't know where it came from? They say some clothes carry more than memories, they carry the person who died in them. Maybe Eli wasn't wearing the costume that night. Maybe it was wearing him. But this next story isn't about the dead wearing the living. It's about a child, one who knocks on doors that shouldn't be opened. And it's the reason some towns ban trick-or-treating altogether. It was Halloween night, 1999, in the quiet town of Red Hollow, a place where nothing ever seemed to happen. By midnight, the streets had emptied. Porch lights went dark, and the laughter of children faded into silence. But one woman, Helen Graves, a widow living alone on Maple Street, was still awake. She had been sorting through old photo albums when she heard it. At first, she thought it was the wind. But then came a voice, soft, distant, almost trembling. "Can I come inside? It's too cold." Helen's porch light flickered. She hesitated, then looked through the window. Standing on her doorstep was a little boy. No more than 8 years old. He wore a faded clown costume. The kind with oversized buttons and a plastic mask that looked decades old. The mask's paint had cracked over time, its smile warped. He held a small paper bag in one hand, the other limp at his side. His head tilted slightly, not curious, not playful, just waiting. Helen opened the door a few inches. "You're out late, sweetheart," she said. "Where are your parents?" The boy didn't answer. He just whispered again, the same line, as if repeating something he'd memorized. "Can I come inside? It's too cold." Helen felt a chill run through her. Something in his tone wasn't right. It wasn't the way a child spoke. It was flat, rehearsed. Still, she didn't want to frighten him. She reached into the candy bowl beside her door, picking out a few pieces. "Here," she said softly. "Take some." But the boy didn't move. His bag hung open, empty, but he didn't lift it. He just stared through the slits of that mask, silent except for his breathing, slow and shallow. Finally, Helen placed the candy into his bag herself and gently closed the door. The instant the latch clicked, the knocking stopped. The next morning, she told her neighbor about it. The neighbor frowned. "A clown costume?" she asked. "That sounds like the boy from the old case." Confused, Helen followed her to the notice board outside the town post office. There, beneath layers of sun-faded posters, was a missing persons flyer, dated 1969. The photo showed a boy in a clown outfit. The same smile. The same buttons. The same paper bag. It was the boy she saw last night. Helen reported it to the police. They checked the area, no footprints, no candy wrappers, no sign anyone had been there. But that night, when Helen went to bed, she noticed something on her porch. A single piece of candy, half unwrapped, sitting exactly where the boy had stood. Over the years, the story spread across Red Hollow. Every Halloween, people claimed they saw him, the same small figure wandering Maple Street after midnight. Always alone. Always in that old, cracked mask. Some said he carried a bag that never filled, no matter how much candy people dropped in. Others said the bag made a sound, like coins rattling inside, not candy. By 2005, the sightings were so frequent that police patrolled the neighborhood each Halloween night. But every report ended the same way: officers saw nothing. Only the faint impression of small footprints in the frost, leading nowhere. Then came Daniel Reeves, a local teenager who decided to prove it was all a myth. He told friends he'd wait outside all night, just to see if the Maple Street Clown would appear. Around midnight, his friend's camera captured something, a small figure at the end of the street, motionless, head tilted. Daniel called out. The figure turned, and a child's whisper echoed across the empty road. "Can I come inside? It's too cold." The footage cut out. 2 days later, police found Daniel miles away, in a field near the county line. He was barefoot, shivering, unable to speak. When they asked what happened, he looked past them, lips trembling, and whispered, over and over, "It's too cold." He never recovered. He never left town again. Today, Maple Street is empty on Halloween night. Houses go dark before 10. Parents tell their children it's tradition, but the truth runs deeper. Locals say, if you listen carefully past midnight, you can still hear it, a soft knock, followed by a boy's voice that doesn't belong to this world. "Can I come inside? It's too cold." And those who open the door, never wake up warm again. If you ever hear a child knocking past midnight, don't answer. You might not be letting him in. You might be letting yourself out. Which story so far creeped you out the most? Tell me in the comments below. It started as an online rumor, whispered through forums and message boards by night shift insomniacs and thrill seekers. They called it the Vanishing House. A mansion that appeared once a year. Only on Halloween night, somewhere along the old Ravens Hollow Trail, deep within the woods outside of Dunsmuir. Most said it was an urban legend. But a group of 4 urban explorers, Eli, Tara, Marcus, and Leah, decided to prove otherwise. Armed with cameras, night vision gear, and a live stream setup, they ventured into the woods at midnight. Their goal was simple: find the house, stay until sunrise, and document everything. At exactly 2:33 a.m., their GPS stopped working. The signal dropped. But ahead of them, through the fog, they saw it, a two-story Victorian house standing where the forest should have been empty. Its windows glowed with warm light. The front door stood slightly open. And inside, they could hear the faint sound of a piano playing. Marcus went in first, camera rolling. The floorboards creaked under his boots. The air was thick, warm, not cold like outside, and smelled faintly of cinnamon and something else, older. On the table sat a fresh meal, stew still steaming, bread half sliced, 2 cups of tea untouched. Leah whispered, "This isn't possible. It's hot." Eli panned the camera across the room. Everything looked frozen in time: floral wallpaper, an oil lamp flickering in the corner, and dust-free furniture as if someone lived there yesterday. That's when Tara noticed the portraits. Each frame showed unfamiliar faces, until she reached the last one, hanging crookedly near the staircase. It was a black and white photo of them, standing in the doorway. Exactly as they were right now. Leah laughed nervously. "Okay, that's creepy, but..." Then the sound came, footsteps upstairs. Slow, deliberate, pacing back and forth. They called out. No answer. Only the sound of breathing, heavy, dragging, above them. Eli whispered, "Someone's here." They decided to leave. But the front door was gone. Where the doorway once was, there was now only a wall of rotting wood and old wallpaper. Panic set in. Tara ran toward a window, but it looked out onto nothing, just blackness. No forest. No sky. Just void. Marcus shouted, "We have to get upstairs, maybe there's another way out." The footage from his camera turns chaotic, flashes of the staircase, frames of empty halls that seem to breathe. Then, a scream. Short. Cut off mid-breath. The screen went black. Only Leah's camera kept running. She was crying, whispering into the lens, "It's showing us. It's showing us what happens next." Her camera panned across the room again. The family portraits had changed. In each one, her friends were there now. Their faces pale, eyes dark, frozen behind glass. By dawn, the live stream ended abruptly, connection lost. When police searched the area, they found no house. Only an empty field, the grass flattened in a perfect square, as if something heavy had once stood there. Weeks passed. The police called it an accident, said the group got lost. Their families believed otherwise. Then, exactly 1 year later, on Halloween night, a notification appeared on Eli's old YouTube channel. A new upload. Titled simply, "The House Returns." The thumbnail showed the same Victorian home, lights glowing, door open. But when viewers clicked play, the footage wasn't from last year's recording. It was new. You could hear breathing behind the camera, whispering. Someone walking through the same house, calling the same names. And near the end of the video, the reflection of the person holding the camera appeared briefly in a mirror. It wasn't Eli. It wasn't any of them. It was you. They say every Halloween, another video uploads. Always at 2:33 a.m. Always from a different account. So tonight, before you go to bed, check your subscriptions. If you see a video you didn't upload, don't watch it. Because the moment you do, the house finds you. And to this day, no one knows where the house goes when the sun rises. You've just heard 4 true Halloween stories, each one a fragment of something darker. The friends who went to a party that wasn't meant for the living.
The man who became the scarecrow he wore. The child who kept trick-or-treating 30 years after his death. And the explorers who stepped into a house that exists only when the night allows it. These aren't just stories. They're warnings. Because Halloween, it isn't just a holiday. It's a doorway. And tonight, you knocked. So tell me, which story haunted you most? Leave your answer below, if your hands aren't still shaking. And if you love true horror, hit subscribe. Because the next story, the one I'm working on now, might be the darkest one yet. Trick or treat.